And one of the most stunning and compelling moves in college football history, six-time Super Bowl winning coach Bill Belichick was named the new head coach at North Carolina last night. North Carolina officials said the sides agreed to a 5-year deal pending approval by the Board of Trustees, which is scheduled to hold an emergency meeting today. Now, this will be Belichick's first college coaching job. His father, Steve, served as an assistant coach for the Tar Heels from 1953 to 55. Belichick will bring some longtime confidants with him to North Carolina. Michael Lombardi, who worked with the Patriots from 2014 to 2016, will serve as the program's general manager, and Belichick's son, Steven, is also expected to be a part of the staff. Adam, a lot of people thought this would never happen. It was just rumors, and here we are. So what more can you tell us?
Well, Bill is a contrarian, and at a time when there are many college coaches looking to get to the NFL, Bill traveled the opposite path and waved to all the coaches along the way because he's not interested in doing what everybody else is doing. He's interested in doing what is relevant and pertinent to him. And that means going back to college, which is becoming more and more like a business. North Carolina offered him the certainty of a job coaching that the NFL didn't. The NFL had a chance to hire Bill Belichick a year ago. The Atlanta Falcons opted for Raheem Morris. The Washington Commanders opted for Dan Quinn, and Bill Belichick was left without a coaching chair, leaving him to become, who would have ever thought, a media darling. So, as he hoped to get back to coaching, the only way to ensure that that would happen would be with this particular job, which they came to him hard. This is what he wanted to do. He might have waited, and he might have gotten an NFL head coaching job, but he might not have. And then it would have been another year on TV. And that's not what he wanted to do because at his core, he is a coach. And so today, he is Chapel Bill, going back to the school where his father was a coach from 1953 to 1955, where Bill Belichick was photographed sitting in the stands as a little boy. And now that little boy has grown into a coaching legend, and he is ready to take that program to new heights.
Adam Schefter, thank you for that. I got to ask this question. Explain what the trepidation was last year and what it may be this year when it comes to an NFL team picking Bill Belichick as its coach. What is the scuttlebutt, the word out there about him in NFL circles? Because we all know he's the greatest coach that ever lived. What's the scuttlebutt about?
I think that people get territorial about their jobs. And I think that they think if Bill Belichick comes in, he's going to take over the organization. And I don't think that that's the case at all. I think Bill would be willing to work within the confines of all jobs to include all people to make it work. Again, last year, it was so important to him to have it that way, to be coaching, and he was not given that opportunity. But I think people are nervous about their jobs because Bill probably would want to bring in some of his people. At least that would be the idea. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But there would be the idea that he could bring in people, displacing other people, making them nervous, causing them to oppose hiring Bill Belichick.
Stephen A., I also think it's this. When it comes to the NFL, one, I don't think he was going to go work for any team or coach any team. There's elite organizations that were only going to be, or at least the potential to be elite, in the conversation. I think, two, is a lot of the teams that right now have job openings at the head coaching position and or ones that we speculate might, feels everyone is attached to a young quarterback. Both New York situations, the New Orleans Saints situation, and again, others that we speculate feel likely. So maybe there was a little hesitation because of how it ended in New England and the obsession with, we've got to only focus on making sure we get a coach for our young quarterback. And it has to be an offensive-minded guy. And it has to be a guy that's only X's and O's, because we're seeing all these other young quarterbacks, a Jaden Daniels with a Cliff Kingsbury. And so the obsession with, like, only quarterback is the only thing that matters, I do, and that incorrectly, by the way, I think that's the wrong way to think. I think that's part of the NFL stuff as well. A year ago, Nick Saban left Alabama. In a negative, or because of the changing in the college football world, and it felt negative for the college football world. It felt like, oh my gosh, college football's changed so much that the greatest coach of all time doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. It feels differently this morning. It feels, oh my gosh, the greatest coach of all time is choosing to go back into college football. And it's a feels like the starting point of a different era in college football, or the potential for a different era in college football where there's much more of an appeal visually. Because if Coach Belichick goes to Carolina and does what I think he's going to do, which make them top 20 immediately and into the college football playoff in the next 2 or 3 years, then the vantage point of college football looks very different than maybe it did even like 2 years ago.
Dan Orlovsky, let Jay comes in. We don't have Adam Schefter all day. You understand what I'm saying? We here for 2 hours. Jay, go ahead and speak, and then we will get back to you and your opinions in a minute. Go ahead.
I love it. That's how it should be.
This
Go ahead, Jay. Adam Schefter got to be out of here at 10:50. Let's go, man. Go ahead, Jay.
More me, less Dan. More me, less Dan.
Dio makes a great point. We look at if Bill's able to bring the system in place, he already said it. He wants to have a pro system at the college level. So if he gets to UNC and this works, we're going to see other schools try to replicate it the same way we've seen in the NFL. Bill wins 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Year after year, some of his systems were picked to come to a different organization to try to replicate and do what Bill Belichick did in the NFL. I look at all of this, and you mentioned it. He became a media darling. I remember seeing him in September at a Rutgers football game, and I said, Coach, like, you're killing it in the TV stuff. I'm trying to catch up, too, and you just got there. How are you enjoying it? It's okay. And I was like, at that point, all right, well, he's going to be back coaching. And Schefter has said it all morning. He's not going to wait around for the NFL. He has an opportunity to get back in there, watch film for hours, and teach guys.
What, Adam, do you believe would have been potentially a great opportunity for Bill Belichick in the NFL once this offseason arrived, or was that something that no one can answer at this particular moment in time?
I would say any team that had an opening would have been a great opportunity for Bill Belichick. He would have been selective in where he would have gone. Or there are certain places I think he would have crossed off his list for the way that those franchises have been run. I don't think that he would have been willing to go to every franchise, but I think any franchise that was making a head coaching change here in the weeks to come, or already has made a head coaching change, would be silly and foolish not to include Bill Belichick at or near the top of its list of candidates. If he didn't want to go there and wanted to say no, that's fine. But if you're a franchise and you're making a coaching change and you have a chance to talk to the greatest coach who ever lived, the guy who's in the neighborhood of victories for George Halas and Don Shula, why would you not do that? But clearly, there was some question as to whether or not that would happen, thus leading to him following the road to Chapel Hill.
Yeah. Adam, I find it interesting. I know, obviously, he's the ultimate historian, and you just mentioned Don Shula. Some people are saying he's chasing Paul Brown. I heard you say that in Get Up as well. But I think this move also shows some humility on his part, going to TV, now going to college as well. Were you surprised by it?
Well, not really. Again, because coaching was the critical element. And people have brought up the coaching record, the fact that he's within victories of George Halas, victories of Don Shula. That's not what drives him. What drives him, and you've played for him, you understand, he wants to coach. He wants to mold men. He wants to be involved like that. The media stuff, that's not for him. That's not who he is at his core. He wants to be a coach, and this allowed him to do that. Again, Paul Brown won a national championship at Ohio State in 1942, and then went on to win 7 professional football championships. Well, Bill's won his professional football championships, and now is going to do a reverse Paul Brown and go back to school and try to have the success at that level.
Stephen A., were you surprised?
Yeah.
Molly, I'll answer that in a question, but I know Adam's got to get ready to go. Before you go, Adam, I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
I was wondering, driving in to studio, Robert Kraft didn't say anything, didn't speak against Bill Belichick, but hasn't said anything. In the NBA, for example, I know a couple of coaches that should be head coaches and has never gotten an opportunity again in quite a while. Was that the kind of state of affairs that we're looking at when it comes to Bill Belichick and the process of and the prospect of him being an NFL coach again, that word is out about him that, you know, he might not want to be the guy. He might not be the guy we want in, no matter how great he is. Is something like that going on?
Stephen, I can tell you this in no uncertain terms as an absolute certainty. when Bill Belichick was up for the Falcons job, Robert Kraft spoke on his behalf. Okay. When his name was mentioned for the Commanders job, Robert Kraft spoke on his behalf. So if you're looking for some sort of nefarious background checks or something that was said behind closed doors, it did not come from the Krafts. I'm going to tell you that right now. They spoke out on behalf of Bill Belichick. They recommended those franchises hire Bill Belichick.
Right. For the record, I have a great relationship with Robert Kraft. I wasn't implying it was him.
I'm just saying
that.
There are people who suspect that and wonder about that.
Right.
And so it's good to clear up the record.
There you go. Okay. That's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
I didn't know that.
All right. So we're done on that. No one else wants to. We're cool. No one else wants to get in.
You didn't know that, Dan?
No, I did not know that. So, because I think the reports have been that a little bit of the alternative.
Documentary.
I feel like I've read reports.
Especially with the Atlanta Falcons job.
Look,
I've heard the opposite.
Look, the relationship had run its course, and Bill's time in New England was up, and I'm sure there were issues that existed between all them. But that doesn't mean they don't understand what he meant for that organization, the kind of coach he is, and that they wouldn't. They have recommended him.
Stephen A. Molly, I'll ask you this now. I'll pull my Stephen A. the question thing. I said this before. Is there a little bit of like this with Coach Belichick being a blank you to the NFL? Is there a little bit of that in this situation?
Well, I think that when you start talking to North Carolina, there are people out there who suspected initially when they didn't believe that this was real, that this was Bill's way of getting a better sense of whether NFL teams were or weren't interested. Because once it comes out that he's talking to North Carolina, if you are an owner of an NFL franchise that's pondering a coaching change and you see that one of the greatest coaches of all time all of a sudden may be taking a college job, you can get on the phone to Bill or his agent and say very quick, hold on, before you do that, you should understand that we really would like to talk to you about our head coaching job, and we're serious about making you an offer. I think it's a reasonable assumption to make. I don't know. I don't think that's why Bill did it, but I would think that that would be a reasonable byproduct of those initial discussions with North Carolina. And whatever it was, Bill thought it was in his best interest at this time. This was the best option for him to take the job in North Carolina.
Adam, what did you make of Bill Belichick on Pat McAfee's show early in the week where he was talking about, he didn't mention anything about winning as one of our CP's Pete McConville pointed out earlier in the meeting. He never talked about really winning, but he talked about basically getting the program NFL ready. I'm asking the question, considering the climate that exists within college football, it's more, one could argue it's more of a business now than it's ever been before, even though obviously, some of us have always known it's a business for other reasons. But in the end, how close is it to the NFL, and how much of an appeal was that element to it for Bill Belichick in your mind?
Well, Stephen A., Bill Walsh went from winning Super Bowls to going back to coaching at college, went to Stanford, was 17-17. The world that Bill Belichick is entering into is totally dissimilar from the one that Bill Walsh did. This is now run the way an NFL team is run. There's money involved. There's recruiting players that's involved. It's a year-to-year proposition. The college game is more like a business than ever before. And Bill Belichick recognizes that. And when Bill Belichick went on McAfee, to bring up your initial point, we talked about this on Get Up. Part of it was because, number one, he had given so much thought to how he would approach a job at the college level. And number two, that was a recruiting pitch. That was his first recruiting pitch to college kids out there. This is how it's going to be done. We're going to have a pipeline to the NFL. We're going to train you like an NFL player. We're going to groom you, get you ready, and we're going to send you on your way to the NFL if you come play for me, Bill Belichick, at North Carolina.
All right. Okay. I'm just wondering, did you guys all wear Carolina blue on purpose to support Bill, or is this just by accident?
J-Mac obviously is not supporting him. J-Mac's supporting Wake Forest. He's supporting the Deacons.
I got dressed at 5 in the morning. I'm not thinking about Bill Belichick when I wake up in the morning.
Fair
Pick
enough.
that out last
night.
My wife picked
this
out last night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.